What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Parker Chronicles podcast, where we dissect your favorite films and film franchises. I am one of your hosts, Brett Parker, and over there is my brother from the same mother, Adam Parker. Are you ready to talk about Bad Boys 2?
My favorite of all three. So
yes, so good. All right. Well, this is if you don't know, this is the Parker Chronicles podcast. As I said in the intro, we talk about our favorite franchises and just franchises out there that we might not like, because we've gone through that before. So we do this every week. We used to do it on a certain day. Now we just kind of do it when we have the time, because that's life. So before we get to talking about Bad Boys 2 and going through all that fun stuff, I do have a couple of announcements for the future of this show. I always got to make sure that my mic is being picked up. Okay, cool. So for number one, we are going to have a couple new permanent hosts here on the show. People who will be here for every show going forward. Well, not every show going forward. After we do Bad Boys in Review, or dissecting Bad Boys. I don't want to say Bad Boys in Review, because there is a show called In Review, and I don't want to be like getting people mad.
That motion just did not look right. Let's move on.
This one's not going on the YouTubes. So we will be having two new permanent additions to the show. And those additions will be the amazing DNA Gaming, consisting of our amazing friends, Dan and Aradella. I reached out to them and asked them if they wanted to be a permanent member, like permanent members of the show. And they said, hell yeah. And I am super excited to bring them on board. And it's good. I feel like the shows are, as much as I love just me and Adam talking, me and Adam do this a lot off camera too, because we're brothers and we live very close to each other. So we see each other a lot more than I can see. Then I see like Dan and Ara, who live far away. So they are going to be permanent members of the show. They're going to be here every week that we do the show, and it's going to be. I'm so excited to have them as members of this show going forward. And it's also a lot better having more than just two people here. I love the vast discussion of a group of people talking about, one subject. I think our shows that we did when we did the Monsterverse and we did Resident Evil and Jaws, I think just the having more than just me and another person, or Adam and another person talking about one movie. I think having the discussion with a group is so much better, especially when I look online and I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, a lot of film podcasts, and there's a lot of people in those groups talking. And it just feels better for me. So, and I know Adam agrees, and it's going to be great. But me and Adam are going to finish the Bad Boys films, just me and him. And then we will be starting in September. Well, not really starting in September, because I think the last Bad Boys movie will be in September. But after we finish Bad Boys, we will be starting Jurassic Park. I'm so excited. This is a film franchise. It means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to Dan and Ara, and it means a lot to Adam, as me and him both grew up watching these films. So we have a lot of cool things going forward. Finishing Bad Boys, we're going to start Jurassic Park, meaning we're going to be doing Jurassic Park, Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, and then we'll be jumping into Jurassic World and then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And then when Jurassic World Dominion comes out next year, we'll add that to that, but that's a long ways away.
We're gonna live stream in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Because that's legal, right?
That's not what I want us to do. Yeah. And we are also, but then we're also going to be doing something else. Once October comes along, we are going to stop the Jurassic Park dissection series to then switch over to, like, we're going to make October strictly horror movies. It might not be in the same format that we do the show right now. We're going to try to change it up. I got to talk to the members of the show now to kind of discuss what I think would be the best thing to do for the month of October, which is my favorite month of the year. I love spooky time. I love Halloween. And it'll lead right up until the newest member of the Parker family shows up at the end of the month.
Right back. I just gotta grab the package that just got dropped off.
That's all right. I got a lot to talk about, so you take your time. Oh God, Inception. But yeah, so we are going to be switching it over to spooky movies for the month of October, and then once that is done, we will be switching back to wherever we left off in Jurassic Park. Also, with the addition of Dan and Ara to the show, I also want to announce that we will be changing the name of the show because of the fact that we're adding them. They aren't, they're not Parkers, so I feel like it's not right to call the show the Parker Chronicles anymore, with having people coming in being permanent hosts on the show. So we'll be changing the name. I'm not going to announce what the name is yet because we're still kind of like, we might have an idea, but it's still kind of up in the air. We're still kind of deliberating, and we'll hopefully have that announced and a very cheap looking probably logo for the time being until I can get a professional logo made up. But it's exciting. New members, a new name for the show. And then also we're going to probably, I don't want to say too much into it, but we're going to be doing a lot more things other than just this style of a show going forward. But I don't want to get too much into that, as we are here to discuss Bad Boys 2, released July 18th, 2003. And boy, did this feel like a 2000s movie. I have not watched this movie front to back in quite a while. I think it's always like on TV, and I'd watch like bits and pieces. I'm like, man, this is great. And then you're watching it on TV, and like they try to say fuck, and it's like frick, and you're like, I can't watch this anymore. I can't do it. This movie had a runtime of 2 hours and 27 minutes, and boy, I don't know if I really felt it. I don't really it didn't really feel like it was like, there was never a point in time where I was like, oh my God, this movie is so long. I have a blast with this movie, even though it's absolutely bonkers. This was again directed by the infamous, yes, I'm going to say it, the infamous Michael Bay. Had a $130 million budget, estimated, always. And the worldwide box office for this movie was an estimated $273.3 million. So it made back its budget. Also, this movie had $100 million more in its budget than the first one. So the first one's budget was an estimated $30 million. This one just tripled it. It's wild. All right, before we go into trivia and the plot, you know how this show goes. We're going to go, well, it's just me and Adam today, but we're going to go and talk about what we thought. So what I want you to, this is what I want you to talk about, Adam. What you thought of them, what is your history with this movie, how you feel about it, and then after watching it again, how do you feel about it? Go.
Right. So when I first watched this movie, I was young. Not that this is kind of the movie you want to watch when you're young, but I did. And so when you're young, it's just action-packed and comedy throughout the entire film from start to finish. I mean, there's a couple serious parts, but it's just action and comedy throughout. So as a young kid, it just drew me in. I mean, it was two things that you love as a child. You love funny things and you love explosions and stuff that catches your attention. So this movie's always got my attention. Now, when I rewatched it, I still felt like a kid. I still think it's hilarious. The action is definitely bonkers, but it's, exciting and enjoyable. And like you said from before, like it's over 2 hours long, but it doesn't feel like it because there's really no boring parts of this movie. I mean, it's just from start to finish. There's just crazy stuff happening at all times.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how. I still obviously it's not a masterpiece, but it's what I enjoy and I love it. So that's it. That's what I feel.
Yeah. I think I think we're very biased to this movie because we grew up watching it so much, and it's just so ridiculous. But I think if you had put, like we talked about this last week with Bad Boys 1, if you had put if you put two different actors into these roles, I don't think it would have worked. Like, I think the main characters, plus some of the side characters, they really help drive the movie, even though what's going on in the background is batshit crazy. Like, what? Makes me not want to go to Miami. Like, what? What is also going on?
What I want people to understand is, like, if I were to put, I guess I'll use the new Bad Boys because it's more in the same time period. Well, not really, but if you were to put like Bad Boys for Life, right, and Interstellar, for example, next to each other, obviously I'm going to say Interstellar is a way better movie.
Right.
Like, the work of that is way better. But so my take on Bad Boys and like Interstellar, for example, again, is they're two different things for me. Like, one's like an action packed, makes me laugh, enjoyable. The other one is like is an actual masterpiece. So they're two different like groups for me. Like, I don't put them together when I talk about like how I love this movie. Like, I don't look at Bad Boys being compared to something as good as like Interstellar or Shawshank Redemption or any of those.
Right. Oh, 100%. I listen, I mean, Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2 are my guilty pleasure movies. Like, they're movies I love to, like, I know I could just put in and enjoy it whatever time, at whatever time, but I would never classify it as like my favorite movies of all time. Like, they're not like at least top 5, maybe even top 10. Bad Boys 1 though might squeak it out. I don't know. I think after watching Bad Boys 2 again, I think I've grown to love Bad Boys 1 more. I just think the farther Michael Bay has gotten into his career, the more batshit crazy he is, and just more like some of the shots were just, I mean, we'll get to that, but I still enjoy the hell out of this movie. I love seeing actors who are, in this movie were kind of small, and now they are superstars. Especially like Michael Shannon, who played Floyd, the KKK member, gets shot in the ear. Dude, that man, he's like probably a bigger actor now, or as big of an actor as Will Smith. Like, the Michael Shannon, I mean, he played Zod in Man of Steel. He was in Knives Out. He's in a new show that's coming out on on Hulu. I think it's 9 Perfect Strangers or something like that. I mean, he's a superstar. Michael Shannon is a fantastic actor, but like at this point in his career, this was like no one knew who he was. I know I didn't know what he was. Oh, you know who I remember? What I remember him from was Kangaroo Jack. He was the bad guy chasing after them at Kangaroo Jack, and that was also super early in his career. Where
I never would have put that together. But...
No one would have known. No one. I mean, Michael Shannon is a great actor. So yeah, I enjoy the hell out of this film. It does have some spots where I kind of I was kind of like, oh, and it wasn't like what was happening on the screen. It was, well, it was, but it wasn't like what Mike and Marcus are doing. It's, oh my God, what is with this cinematography, or what is with this camera shot? Why is it so shaky? Like, I felt like it felt like a early 2000s action movie. It felt like when I was watching certain scenes in like the Resident Evil movies, where I was just like, oh God, it's so shaky and so Oh, but still love this movie, and it gets me excited though to watch Bad Boys for Life, because I've only seen that movie once all the way through, and I've seen bits and pieces of it later, but I think this trilogy is just so wacky, but it's just so good. This was the last R-rated film to be directed by Michael Bay until Pain and Gain, which is another, I would say, good Michael Bay movie if you've never seen it. It's got Mark Wahlberg, The Rock, Anthony Mackie, Ed Harris. Great cast. The story is crazy. It's actually based on a true story. But yeah, it was the last R-rated film to be directed by Michael Bay until Pain and Gain, and the last to be produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, who was a longtime producer, who produced all of Michael Bay's films up to this point, as well as the last film that both of them worked on together. Jerry Bruckheimer is a huge producer. He produced all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, National Treasure movies, probably a bunch of other ones I can't remember at this moment. But yeah, Michael Bay, probably because he looked at Michael Bay and went, "You're fucking crazy, bro," and was like, "I gotta go."
Yeah.
In a 2013 conversation with film critic David Denby at the Hammer Museum of Art in Los Angeles, screenwriter Ron Shelton confessed that when asked by Jerry Bruckheimer to work on the script, he had not seen Bad Boys 1, and quickly fast-forwarded through a Blockbuster rental of the film before his interview. He also stated that to that day, he has never seen Bad Boys 2. Isn't that wild? Like, you were the man who wrote the script. Or, well, screenwriter is the person who writes the script, right? Well, he's a writer. I'm guessing so. Also, a thing that I really didn't like about this movie, hated the music. I just didn't. I love the music from Bad Boys 1. Just that, like, it felt like a 90s movie, but I think it would have been better to kind of have something similar but more modernized. But instead, they did what every early 2000s movie did, was we're gonna hire a hip hop star, rapper, or somebody to help write our music. And guess what? That's what this movie did. So one of the reasons that the original composer, Mark Mancini, didn't return, Michael Bay instructed him to only come up with certain action beats for the film and not to compose melodic music like in the original. Unhappy with the decision, Mancini left the project and was replaced by regular Jerry Bruckheimer collaborator Trevor Rabin. And also, P. Diddy helped write the music for this movie, as you can clearly hear. Excuse me. With what's the song? What's the song that they play like 17 times in this movie?
Oh, the tail feather one.
Yeah, shake your tail. Oh, yeah. You hear that song 25 times in this movie. Megan Fox actually played a character in this movie. This was her first foray into the Michael Bay universe and the start of the toxic relationship that they both have with each other. She played a club goer in the nightclub that Alexi owns, the one where the guy ODs. She was only 15, so Michael Bay, I don't understand why you needed her for this. You could have put her in any other scene. So originally the script was to have her sit at a bar and she was just supposed to be at the bar with a drink, but she was only 15, so they couldn't film her holding a drink. So they put her in a bikini and they put her over by a waterfall, and she is a girl. So if you go, I've never noticed her, maybe because I just never ever cared to look. But yeah, I guess she's a girl in a bikini under a waterfall in a club scene.
That's kind of weird.
Yep. Like I said before, this movie was well over $100 million more in the budget than the original. And the reason why there is so many more action scenes in this compared to number one is because Michael Bay wanted to up the ante on the action scenes, because this was the same year that Hulk with Eric Bana and The Matrix Reloaded were being released. So he wanted to make sure that he out-actioned those two movies. I don't know if that's a word, but that's what I'm going to say. Do you want to guess how many people died in this movie?
Like actually died or died in just...
Yeah, what the body count is?
Probably like 200 and something.
You're way off.
It's higher?
51.
Oh.
51. The body count for this movie is 51. And of course, we'll talk about it when we get to that point in the plot, but I'll state it now. We get a Michael Bay cameo. If you didn't notice, when Mike and Marcus are trying to confiscate a car to chase after the guys after they're scouting for that boat, and the guys make the exchange and they go chase after it right before they kidnap or they take Dan Marino's car.
Yeah,
he's the first car that pulls up. That shitty car,
the shitty one.
Yeah, well, he's wearing like the bowl hat. Yep. All right. If we have nothing else to talk about for trivia, well, we got some trivia sprinkled in throughout the plot synopsis, so hold on to your butts there. All right, the movie opens like a typical 2000s action movie. X is being made, and we get a terrible looking title card. This title card sucks compared to Bad Boys. I love that like retro cops looking Bad Boys from the first one. This one you get a generic like clip art looking garbage that looks like it was made by a kid in like middle school. I think they taught us how to make something similar to that when I was in middle school. And then we get the music, which is always, and then you get the weird music that just doesn't feel right, but it's club music, so I guess okay. And P. Diddy was a music consultant on this film, and you can definitely tell. He was also a music consultant for the 1998 Godzilla movie. Cool. Thanks, P. Diddy. Coffins are getting loaded with ecstasy. So when I say X, I put X in my script. It's ecstasy. That's what they're making. Yo, Tim! Thanks for the 18-month resub, my friend. What's going on, buddy? So coffins are getting loaded with X, and we are brought out to the ocean and dropped in for pickup. We meet Hector. Did you know that this was his full name? Hector Juan Carlos Johnny Tapia. But we're going to call him Johnny because that's what he's called throughout the entire movie. He is the antagonist of the movie. What's up, Spineless? Coast Guard tries to intercept the operation, but as long as you cover your boat in a black tarp, they can't see you in their night vision goggles. Okay.
You know, they're smart. Just let them have it.
All right. I just move on. We get to our second Miami flyover sign, or Miami sign flyover. I can't read. I wrote this and I can't read it.
The sign is flying.
The sign is flying, everybody. They took the Miami sign, they just hulked it.
It wouldn't surprise me with Michael Bay, to be honest.
He did do Transformers, so. So yeah, we get another Miami sign flyover as we did in the first one, and you'll probably see it again. And we meet Henry Rollins's TNT, which stands for Tactical Narcotics Team Leader. And literally, he doesn't have a name. He's just the TNT leader. But it's Henry Rollins, a famous, I believe, oh man, I got to look him up. I think he was if anybody in chat knows what Henry Rollins is famous for, let me know. But I know that he was in one of the Wrong Turn movies. Remember those movies? Ooh.
Yeah.
And they are setting up a strike on a ecstasy drop that is being made. And it's happening at a KKK rally. Who would have thought? Everybody in the KKK rally is yelling white power, and that's when we get the great entrance of Mike and Marcus as they come out of their cloak and they yell blue power, motherfucker.
So before you keep going,
what's up?
It says that he started out, what made him famous was a hardcore group called Black Flag.
That's right. He was in a band. Right. Johnny! Thank you so much for the 16-month resub, buddy. And that damn emote. So yeah, we get the cool blue power motherfucker entrance from Mike and Marcus. We get a shootout. A lot of KKK members are dying. Mike is trying to call in for backup, but they can't. The comms aren't working right. So they just stand there and watch. Clearly, you can see shooting happening. Maybe you should probably go in, but they sit there, and it's just Mike and Marcus. Mike shoots Floyd, who I'm going to talk about Floyd real quick, played by Michael Shannon. We talked about him earlier. They shoots him in the ear, and Mike saves Marcus by doing an epic dive slow-mo shot that goes through Marcus's ass, and he gets the headshot. So we didn't just get the bullet going in slow motion through Marcus's ass cheek and then into the guy's head. I liked it. I always talk about how much I don't like slow-mo. I love this shot. I love it.
I love Marcus's face the most.
Oh. TNT has a hard time hearing Mike, as we said, call for backup, and they show up right at the end of the fight. But guess what? So Mike had somebody on the inside about how there was going to be a huge shipment of ecstasy coming in. But unfortunately, it was only 2 bags, and it was only one guy who had gotten a couple bags. So it was a whole waste of time. They arrest everybody who's still alive. And we get a great back and forth between Mike and Marcus as Marcus is being wheeled through the hospital. They talk.
What happened to you? Somebody shot me in the ass.
He's like,
do you know who shot me in the ass? No, I don't.
Rollins also co-starred in The Chase with Charlie Sheen. I'm trying to remember I'm trying to think of, do I know what that is?
I think I would know if I shot you in the ass.
Right? The reaction is always, that's the thing. It's like you get the slow-mo reaction to him getting shot in the ass. It's always great. If you can do slow-mo right? Like when we talked throughout the Resident Evil movies, the slow-mo was bad because there was so much of it. But like a shot like this is great because you don't just get Mike doing the epic dive and shooting, but you get the slow-mo bullet, but you get it traveling through Marcus's ass, which then he reacts to it, and then you get the cool headshot at the end. So, like, well done.
Bravo.
Well done. So, yeah, they talk about how they both have to go to therapy because of the end of Bad Boys 1, which is, it's great that they link those two things together. And, you know, I love Marcus's therapy scene because he's like talking. She's the therapist is like, are you angry? He's like, I'm not fucking angry. Like, but you're making me angry, asking me all these stupid ass questions.
You repeating that I'm angry is going to make me angry.
Oh, and yeah, but then Mike's therapy is not the same. It's just him sleeping with his.
It's still therapy.
It is true. It's Mike sleeping with his therapist. And that's when we get the woosah. That's when woosah comes out. And I still use it to this day. Yeah. Anytime somebody is in a stressful mood or like I'm just fucking around with somebody who's, you know, who might be getting a little uppity. Usually it's just me talking to myself in the mirror. Woosah. It's a universal term now. You know, you're feeling a little stressed out. Just rub your earlobes and woosah. Jedi, what's up, buddy? Welcome in. Let's see, where are we at? So now we cut to Club X, and yes, that's what I'm calling it because I have no idea what this club is called. And there is X everywhere. You get the blink, you miss a cameo from Megan Fox, which, to be honest, even when I watched it this time, didn't notice her. We then cut back to Mike, who calls his contact Ice Pick, who is he's a Haitian who was his it was like the guy on the inside. He was the guy who pretty much told him about the operation that they were getting themselves into. He told him that he was going to be he told him that there was going to be a lot more X at the rally, but there wasn't. So he's pissed. We go back to the club and we meet Alexei, played by Peter Stormare. Peter Stormare he's been in everything. I can't even tell you where to start. All I know is one of my favorite roles of his is probably in the Lost World Jurassic Park, which some of you probably won't even know he was in that movie, but he was. But he's been in everything. He's great. He always plays a great bad guy. And I believe he's been in a couple other Michael Bay movies. He's the owner of the club, and he's talking to somebody on the phone about a transaction when one of his associates tells him about a guy overdosing on the dance floor, and he is not happy. He just pretty much tells him, go dump him in the street. And that's really fucked up.
Yeah, he's on the phone. He's like, hold on. I got to handle this. Someone thinks they can OD on my club.
Yeah,
They're in my club.
OD on my club. Yo, Third, what's going on? Welcome in. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was gonna say Until Dawn. I do remember that. I haven't played that game. Need to, but I do remember that he was in that. We then get we're now at the Burnett house. Marcus is relaxing in his pool wearing what I wished was a Dwayne Wade jersey, because Gabrielle Union, who plays his sister Sid in this movie, is married to Dwayne Wade. But at the time this movie was filmed, Dwayne Wade either wasn't drafted yet or was just drafted by the Heat, so wasn't as big of a name yet. But I thought it would have been perfect if that was the case, if he was wearing a Dwayne Wade. But he wasn't.
Were they even married at the time?
No. But I just thought it would just been perfect, you know. Sid is visiting. Sid, played by Gabrielle Union. She's visiting her brother Marcus down in Miami. Mike shows up in his new ride, baby, because every single movie he's got to have a new car. And this one, he drives a sexy Ferrari, and he brings a nice donut for Marcus to sit on, since he did get shot in the ass. I'm doing good, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I hope you're doing well. Sid is super excited to see Mike, as they are in a secret relationship. We get an awkward table scene as Mike plays off seeing Sid in New York. It all ends with Marcus's dog, Mason, pulling down the pool. Mason, fun fact, was Michael Bay's dog, and Martin Lawrence was very uncomfortable performing around him because he was so big. So I thought that was pretty funny. In the credits, he's literally listed as Mason Bay. And he's probably R.I.P. because this movie is very old, so he's probably not around anymore. He was drafted in 2000. Yeah, I did read that, so it was right in the beginning when he probably wasn't a huge name yet. I just thought it would have been perfect. But this movie was probably filmed. Usually, the filming of a movie is usually like the year before it's released. So it probably was filmed in like 2002. Sid leaves, and we meet up with Alexei and his associate, Joseph. They need their money counted, and nobody can do it better than Sid? Is she dirty? Nah. She's just an undercover DEA agent trying to take down Alexei and Johnny Tapia, who we talked about earlier. There's a lot of money, and it's everywhere. And how many people are in this room counting this money, and they can't count the money? There is so much of this money, and it's just everywhere. It's
not very organized.
Yeah. Martin Lawrence is short, so the dog probably... definitely. Most definitely. Martin Lawrence seems like the type of guy, though, who is like... When I watch Bad Boys, all of the Bad Boys, Martin Lawrence, I feel like he plays himself. Like he is playing himself. Like the reactions to things and the way he is, that is who Martin Lawrence is. And it's great. I love it. Yeah, so Sid is an undercover DEA agent trying to take down Alexei and Tapia. There's a lot of money, and it's everywhere, and they need to be more organized with this money. As Sid leaves with the money, she's ambushed by the Haitian gang that is being watched by Tapia's goons. Marcus notices Sid and Mike and Marcus. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Marcus notices Sid, and that's when Mike and Marcus join the chase. We're getting weird slow-mo shots with Mike using a very non-police approved weapon as he does stunts with his very expensive car. I'm driving a very expensive Ferrari. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drive really fast, and then I'm going to whip that freaking thing around and shoot a machine gun out my window. I'm a cop, though, remember.
Dude, I want his strength in his right arm, because I don't even know if I could hold that gun up with two hands. No, I could, but one.
Right? Like, what? This is so cool.
While you're driving?
In reality, Mike...
What kind of speed is he on?
Right. In reality, Mike would have been fired like years ago. It's like, Mike, you can't use these guns. You can't do this. Like, what are you doing, bro? Oh.
Well, it's like when she gets intercepted by the Haitian. Why? Oh, I don't think it was her gun, but she like blasts that dude with a shotgun.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. I love that shot. I lose my spot. See, I got this huge script now, and I got to figure out where the hell I am. We get a crazy shootout between the cops, the gang, and Mike and Marcus. I guess I could have grouped them in with the cops since they are cops. Sid gets a badass shot off on a guy trying to get through the back window in the SUV she's in. It was crazy. She literally is sitting in her seat and pumps the shotgun backwards and just, and it's great. I loved it. It just shows that Gabrielle Union's a badass. That's the best role an actor can have, is once that comes naturally to them. 100%. It makes me fall in love with that character and that actor, because I know that, they're not they're not really having to try so hard. This movie like the back of your hand. I do too. Me and Adam have watched this movie. I couldn't even put
probably
into numbers. Oh, that's probably not even a lie. It's crazy. But my brain scrambles things up, so I have to write a script so I know exactly the order of things that happened, because I'll talk about something that happened way later and then forget about something before, and it's a mess. So we got this. I probably should put my cursor where I am so I don't forget where I am. Sid escapes, and some of the gang members hijack a tractor trailer carrying brand new vehicles. How this tractor trailer goes from 0 to fucking fast is beyond me. But the fact that Mike is driving a Ferrari and is having a real hard time catching up, even though, yes, I understand he has to dodge vehicles and stuff, but he should have been caught up with them way earlier. But whatever, we wouldn't get this crazy bridge chase scene if, that was the case. You have to, what is it? Expand your disbelief? Is that what it's called? Is that what you say?
That sounds good.
Yeah, I know words. They shoot out of one of Mike's headlights, and he is pissed. And he does some insane driving as he somehow can't catch up to this big rig. Marcus shoots out the window, but as he comes back into the car, he shoots Mike's dashboard. And boy, Mike is even more pissed because his car's getting shot up. But maybe you shouldn't drive your Ferrari in a crazy car chase.
Shoot outside the car.
The back and forth is always great between Mike and Marcus. I love the chemistry between these two guys. It's just so good. It makes these movies work. Where like I said before, if they put two other actors into these roles, I don't think it would have worked as well. To me, when I watch Martin Lawrence and Will Smith be, Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett, it kind of brings me back to the Lethal Weapon days. The chemistry that Mel Gibson and Danny Glover have. It's great. It's fantastic. We get a massive explosion as cars and boats explode. And after everything is over, Marcus and Mike confront Sid about what she's been doing. And she tells him, and Marcus is like, I'm telling mama. And storms away. Great. Love it. Yeah. 100%. No, like I say, like in my brain as an adult, I always watch movies now and I think of like, man, that's so crazy. Like how the hell, like in my head, I was like, how the hell is he not catching up to this tractor trailer? But I also have to think, yes, this is a movie, and this was on purpose.
Marcus is definitely, his reactions during this entire chase are hilarious. They're throwing cars, Mike.
Was this the same one where Marcus shows his badge? Yeah. He's like, yeah.
Well, that was at the beginning when the Haitian gang pulls up beside them.
Yeah.
And he shows badge. He's like, don't show your badge. They got guns. Shoot them.
It's like they can't hear you because they're shooting. So good. Lethal Weapon, great. That is definitely a series that I would love to do in the future. So we get our first appearance of one of my favorite characters of this franchise, Captain Howard, played by Joe Pantaliano. I love him so much. He's pissed about everything that happened on the bridge because, yes, I'd be pissed too if I was the police captain and I literally turned on the news and the bridge going into Miami is just a big giant fireball. And who's behind it? Always Marcus and Mike. He's also about that therapy. He's all about the woosah. de-stressing himself, but he's still a very angry man, and that's what makes me love his character. I just love his outbursts, even though he's still trying to, like, he's doing his Wusan, and he just like has an outburst.
I just love when he's like, you destroyed, I don't know, remember the number. He's like, you destroyed 20 cars and a boat. How did you destroy a boat?
Yeah, and Mike gets a phone call about how much it's going to cost to get his car fixed. It's $21,000 to get his car fixed, which is wild. I mean, I understand that car is very expensive, but what? At first, he asked Captain Howard about getting reimbursed. He's like, no, that's why we have police cars. I love that. And then he turns to Marcus. He's like, oh, you're going to get your money. You're going to get your money, as he stares down Marcus. Love it. Tapia, we then go back to Johnny Tapia's, to his very old house. And he's got a rat problem as he stores all of his money in the attic of his very old house, which actually belongs to his mother. So the house the Tapia house is actually a museum that has been used in many films, including Ace Ventura and Iron Man 3 and many others. But these are the two that really like caught my eye. And don't you dare laugh at Tapia's daughter, who is adorable, by the way. And she's probably my age now. But it doesn't matter if you're family, Roberto. Roberto, he's an idiot. Mike and Marcus visit Ice Pick to get more info from him. As we said before, Ice Pick is like he's the insider. And he owns like a weird like voodoo shop. Is it a voodoo shop or something?
Yeah, it's just the way he talks and stuff. It seems like he does some weird stuff.
Yeah. Like we're gonna get to that. So yeah, they go visit Ice Pick to get more information. Ice Pick is pretty much trying to play it off like he doesn't know anything, and that's when they do their, hey, did you know that we're on the Miami PD tandem dance team? And they do the God, they smash. For any audio listeners, I just did the dance from the movie, so I apologize, but you could hear from my grunting. You could just imagine it, okay? And so they smash up his shop, and he tells him about the pink house, and that's where like there's a bunch of Haitian gangsters there. It's so good. We then go to the pink house, and this is where the second crazy shootout happens, and this is when we get Michael Bay's infamous rotating room shot, which is literally the camera. I'd have to look at behind the scenes of how this is, but I'm guaranteeing that it was a track that they made around this scene or this set, and then it's just a guy riding on a track with a camera as this is happening, because it's literally, it looks like it's one shot, and you'll see it if you have watched other Michael Bay movies. This shot is used a few times in his movies. I know one of them is in the movie Pain and Gain, which is a very Bad Boys like movie. But yeah, you get it where it's Mike and Marcus on one side, and then the Haitian gangsters on the other side. And yeah, we get the line where the guy's like, "You're in the devil's house now," or Mike says that he's the devil. And then they go, and then Marcus is like, yeah, you gotta call yourself the devil in his house, as he's like hiding in a bathroom, and then they're shooting at him, and he's getting covered in like toilet water. Great.
He's yelling for them to stop shooting. It's like, yeah, just keep talking. Oh wait, they can't hear you because they're still shooting.
We get Mike shooting through already made bullet holes. Marcus lands a lucky shot in a guy, and Mike does the cool bullet hole shot where the guy shoots through the wall, and then he goes to peek in, and Mike has the barrel of his gun on the other side, and he blasts him in the face. And it's now a meme. If anybody's ever seen the meme,
oh god, it's messed up, but it's hilarious.
Where it is.
Do you want to build?
Do you want to build a snowman scene from Frozen, where Anna looks into the peephole and it's Mike on the other side with the gun, and then he shoots, and then it's the girl from Wreck-It Ralph 2 screaming at her iPad. It's so messed up. Oh man. Lunar, thank you for the follow. Welcome.
One of my
Let's
favorite lines is coming up.
So yeah, so the shootout ends and there is one guy left, and that is when we get Mike or Marcus. He's like Marcus is all flustered. He's trying to chill himself out, but he's still like, the guy won't give up any information. So he like roundhouse kicks the dude, and then he's doing the fun thing where he walks over to all the dead bodies. He's like, "Hey, maybe we should ask him about it." "Oh, we can't because his brains are underneath the end table." And then he turns and it's the guy he shot, but he doesn't know because it was a lucky shot. But it's the guy just standing with his eyes wide open, and he's like, "Whoa!" The reaction, so good.
I just love when he's like, you know what we learned from this situation? Dead people can't say shit.
Yeah, it's so good. Oh boy. They find it, so then they find a camcorder and they have to go to the electronics store to see what's on it, and that's when we get the electronics store scene where Mike and Marcus go to the guy who's working there. They put it on the cam, or they put it on the TV, which then gets triggered to all the other TVs. And at first, it is incriminating stuff. So they're like, "Yep, we got it. We can do, we can get some bugs and do all that." But also. But then right after that, porn pops up. These two people are just going to town, and they goes all the other TVs. And how does this guy who works here not know how to turn it off?
It's like the guy's son, the owner's son or something.
Yeah. Can't shut it off. There's porn playing throughout the whole thing. And then a recording, a camera gets turned on in a recording like room. That's where Mike and Marcus sit down and they have a talk, and Marcus is talking about how since he got shot in the ass, he can't perform anymore. So he's just not having a good time. But it's being portrayed in a different tone as everybody in the store can hear it, especially this woman with her kids who is very, very upset, which is to be understood. They talk about that, and then they find out they're being recorded. They walk out, and that's when we get the line from the woman. It's like, "You two motherfuckers need Jesus." Fletcher is back. They find out that Tapia is the man behind all the X being brought in and out of Miami. They need Fletcher to hack into finding out how to get into Tapia's house. In exchange, because this is illegal, they're going to get him some Lakers and Heat floor seats. And fun fact, the actor who plays Fletcher, John Sally, played for both teams in real life. I should state that. They find out that Tapia's men have a pest control company going to the house, so they decide to disguise themselves as pest control guys to get in. Mike and Marcus go to the Tapia house and set up wires to record in the house. Tapia meets with Alexi and Joseph to discuss business, but in reality, it's to have Alexi sign over all of his businesses to Tapia. Joseph is asked if he likes wine. He says yes. So he gets brought into the basement to go pick out a bottle of wine. But in reality, he's going to get chopped up and put in a couple containers and put on a table in display for Alexi to threaten him. He still is not threatened to the point where Tapia has to take out pictures of his family and say he's going to do bad things to them, which then Alexi ends up signing everything over to Tapia. Mike and Marcus get made as Mike discovers the kill room. He literally is wandering around setting up wires, and that's when they discover the in the kitchen is where they chopped up Joseph because there's blood everywhere. And the guy,
yeah, but the scene with the rats.
Mike, they fuck like us.
They fuck just like us. They're going at it, man.
Big motherfucking
Focus,
rats,
man.
the whole rat thing is just great.
I just, when he finds the kill room, he goes, I think I found the problem. Y'all a bunch of dirty motherfuckers.
Oh, so they make a hasty getaway. Tapia kills his cousin Roberto. because he was the one who allowed them to go into the house, and they let them pretty much see everything. And I love the reaction after he shoots Roberto, and his mom comes onto the balcony, and she's like, "What happened to Roberto?" And there's like 15 people there, and he's like, "He just killed himself, Mama." And you're like, she's like, "Oh, make sure you."
Oh no!
Make sure you send a condolence letter to his mother.
I will, Mom.
So good. So good. They find out info about a boat that helps transport the ex and money in and out of Miami. They go and visit Floyd, who is just getting out of jail. Is he just getting out of jail, or did they get him out of jail?
100% sure.
I think they were getting him out of jail, because I feel like he would have been in jail longer than what he was supposed to be. I just feel he wasn't told who was getting him out. Oh, that's right. She's like, send some flowers. Yes. So good.
Send some flowers.
As they are staking out, and Sid decides that she's going to join in on the stakeout. I forgot to put that in. As they're staking out, Sid awkwardly tells Marcus that she and Mike are a thing. Marcus is very upset and insults Mike, pretty much telling Mike like he's a terrible person and he's not going to treat her right. And Mike is pissed, especially since you think that they're really good friends, which they are. But Marcus is just very protective. They witness a drop off and they pursue. They try to carjack a guy who turns out to be Michael Bay himself. But Mike is like, what does he say? He's like, this is a piece of shit. Like, can we get a car that's not a piece of shit?
Can we talk about the conversation though that he has when he's telling her that they went to New York? He's like, so I went to New York and Sid went to New York and we went to eat. We sat down. She ordered. He's telling her, he's like, she ordered this. I ordered that. The whole time he's just fuming.
Yeah. So good. So they don't take the car driven by Michael Bay. He drives off. And so the next car, which is a 2003 Buick Blackhawk concept car, which would be the first of many concept cars that Michael Bay would use in his films going forward, is being test driven by Miami Dolphins great Dan Marino. And he's great. They just like, Dan, I love you, but we got to take your car. Mike drives.
You're gonna drive the shit out of this.
Yeah, we're gonna test drive the shit out of this. Mike drives too close to Tapia's goons when I never understood that. He's like, oh, they don't know who we are. It's like, you were just in their house. Like, you were just in the house. They saw you. Like, all right, dude. And they get their cover blown immediately. They follow behind a van carrying dead bodies and coffins. And then dead bodies just start flying out of the back of the car. They're getting run over and heads are popping off. It's a mess. They crash the car into a building and a major shootout ensues. It all leads to a fight on a monorail and Mike throwing the goon into the monorail tracks, instantly killing him. Marcus makes a funny comment about it. What does he say? He's
about
like,
the guy that lost his head?
No, we're talking about the guy that gets thrown off the monorail.
Shit with that. I can't. I'm drawing a blank.
It's like third will probably know, and he'll throw it in the chat. So he makes a funny comment about it, and Captain Howard is pissed because there are bodies everywhere and no drugs or money. Marcus is done with Mike and has transfer papers ready to go.
Oh, I love when the dead body's on the windshield and he just turns on the wipers.
Oh, man. Mike goes over Marcus's and talks to him about the transfer. This is one of my favorite scenes ever. They have their conversation, but Marcus is very worked up because Marcus's daughter Megan is going out on a date, and Marcus is all worked up about it. And this is when the funniest scene of the movie commences. We meet Reggie, played by Dennis Green, who is a tall, scared-looking teen, and Marcus and Mike don't help the situation. When Dennis Green, who played Reggie, showed up for shooting, he was told by Martin Lawrence's bouncer that he mustn't look into Lawrence's eyes or talk to him. And Lawrence himself was subsequently nasty to him. It was all a ploy arranged by director Michael Bay, who wanted the boy to be genuinely scared of Lawrence. Green also wasn't told about the gun that he would be threatened with. So the reaction of Reggie in that entire scene is genuine. He is scared because he did not know what he was going to expect when they opened the door. I love it. It's one of the best scenes. There's some things in it that are not appropriate to say, but it's so good. It's Marcus answering the door as a very protective father, and Mike comes in as kind of like a gangbanger, like dude who's just got out of jail, and he's waving his gun around, and asking stupid ass questions. It's a hilarious scene.
How old are you? 16. How the fuck you look 30?
Who's that at the door? Oh, so good. And then, of course, Teresa comes in. It's like, oh, Reggie, I hope they didn't scare you. Spoilers! No spoilers in the chat third. We're going to talk about that next week. Don't spill spoilers. No spoilers. So they get information about they're going to go to the mortuary that is owned by Tapia. And to find the drugs and money. And of course, Marcus, he can't handle dead bodies. And we know this from the first movie. He's not good around dead bodies, and he's all gagging. And we do get our gag, Martin Lawrence gag fest here in this movie of him trying to play it cool. We get some awkward shots as they like lift the thing, and it's the girl with the big boobs. And it's like, okay, come on, man. It's modesty, man. Put it down. I'm like, Michael Bay, why did this have to be in this movie? Into the mind of a weirdo. Money and X are found in the bodies and coffins as Marcus is trying to cool himself off and get some water. He accidentally consumes not one, but 2 ecstasy pills. Vargas and Reyes, who are the two. So in the first movie, we had, oh man, what the hell were the 2 Hispanic cops' names? It was like Sanchez and Ruiz. So they had to interchange with 2 new Hispanic cops named Vargas and Reyes. Why? I guess either they couldn't get the actors back or they just wanted to change their names. I don't know. But they are helping Mike and Marcus, and so Mike and Marcus are the leads of the TNT group. Just FYI, I think Mike and Henry Rollins' character are like the leaders of that group. So they're going into the mortuary to find, to find all this stuff, which they end up doing, but they have to hide because the mortuary workers are coming. And so Marcus hides on the table with the big boobs dead body. He gets wheeled out. So Mike has to get a distraction. So he tells the 2 guys, Vargas and Reyes, to crash the ambulance that they are using into the building to distract them so that they can make their escape, which they end up doing.
If you tell Teresa, I'll kill you.
I just love it's like, I can't have another strike on my record. So they go and visit Howard, and it's very late at night. It's like 2 a.m. They go to visit Howard, and Marcus is feeling something else. He is high as
Reyes.
Yeah, he is high as a kite from consuming those 2 pills. Mike shows Howard all the pics of all the evidence.
I just love it, dude. Answers the door. Hey, Cap. Hello, Captain.
Yeah, just the way that like Mike is just trying to be cool, and he's trying to show Howard the pictures and everything, and then Marcus is just high out of his mind. He's like talking about feng shui and
that is
so
a
good.
Nice fish, That's ain't fucking eyes, but a nice fucking fish.
He's sitting there with the Buddha thing, and oh man, it's so good. They have enough to get Tapia with all the evidence that they got, all the pics. And then Howard figures out that Mike finally tells Howard that Marcus consumed some ecstasy, and so they have to cool him off. And then so you get the scene. He gets out of the shower, and he finally is able to get it up because he got shot in the ass. He couldn't get it up anymore for his wife, but now he can. So he tells Mike to call Teresa and tell her, I'm on the way. Sid is closing the deal with Tapia as TNT and Miami PD excuse me, close in on all of Tapia's businesses. Lexi also shows up to kill Tapia, which doesn't end well because he ends up running into the TNT members and gets blown to smithereens. Tapia hearing everything and finding out that Sid is they first find out that Mike and Marcus are cops, and then they figure out that Sid knows them. So he pretty much Tapia puts 2 and 2 together, figures out that she is some sort of authority, and he pretty much kidnaps her. We get an epic boat chase, a boat helicopter chase. The producers had to receive emergency relief of the manatee protection laws of Florida Governor Jeb Bush to hold the high-speed boat chase in the Miami River. So pretty much they had to dive, and they had to make sure there was no manatees in the area so they could do the high, because you're not supposed to exceed certain speeds in that area. So they had to receive special permission. They get the money, and Marcus, and they're celebrating, and Marcus gets the call from Tapia that he has Sid, and if he doesn't give him his money, she will die. We then also get the second of the trilogy slow-mo shot of both of them rising up after he gets the call, kind of a throwback to the first one. What would you rank this among these shots? Is this better than the first one?
I think there's more emotion in this one.
Yeah, he's on the phone. I don't know. I'm kind of torn because I love the first one because it's right after all that craziness happens.
No, the first one's definitely awesome. I just think there's more I think in the first one they're more it's just straight pissed off and they're ready. Where this one is actual sad emotions too.
Yeah,
you can tell Mike is scared, dead. Because I'll be honest, I think Tapia is more intimidating than the guy in the first one. Just because for one, he's not even he's part of this huge group that he runs.
Right.
I think they're both great though.
Yeah, they are. That's why they need to be in here. And don't worry.
And plus,
don't worry. Spoiler alert. There is one of these shots in the third one. I won't tell you where.
I do like the saying they do in this one. When he looks at Mike and he's we ride together, or we, whatever, mess it up. But we ride together, we die together, bad boys for life. That just adds more. Which
is the second time in this movie that they say it, because he says it the first time when he confronts Marcus about transferring, and he looks at the yearbook. And it's written in the yearbook.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that's what the title of the third film is. Bad Boys for Life. We'll talk about that coming up. So Sid and Tapia are in Cuba. So the U.S. can't help get Sid back. So TNT members, the DEA agents that work with Sid, and a CIA member who has crazy intel, crazy gadgets and stuff, they offer to help get her back legally, pretty much. Vargas tells him that he has a cousin Tito who lives in Cuba and of course lives right across the street from Tapia. They get the scene where they're flying in and Marcus thanking everybody for joining or for helping him out and all that. We get to the house and that's when they're like, oh well, we didn't know it was gonna be right across the street. But we get a tunnel that has been built underneath the building that they're in, all the way to under Tapia's house. The CIA guy uses a very explosive RC car to get rid of the military guys on Tapia's property, and that's when the chaos ensues and a huge shootout happens. But first, we get the scene where it's Tapia. It's Tapia looking at the painting that the guy's painting in his house, and it's he's like, what what does this mean? What is the Last Supper? And she explains the Last Supper and how it was the last time Jesus was with like everybody before he was crucified. And he's like, are you fucking kidding me? This is fucking depressing. And it's just the guy that the painter is just terrified. Bob, thank you so much for the 19 months. Oh my God.
Isn't he supposed to be working?
Shh, quiet. So yeah, we get a huge shootout. We got a lot of people die in this. Tapia's mom gets knocked the fuck out. Does she? And you never see her get taken out of the house. So I hope she lived. She was a little old lady. I mean, she probably wasn't as bad as her son. They need to go to Plan B, and nobody knows what Plan B is other than Mike, which he probably doesn't even know what it is either. They find a yellow Hummer, which I used to have an RC car of this, and I always wanted to display it back here, but I don't think I have it anymore. And they drive away as Tapia's house goes boom. So, scenes from the movie were filmed at the Birdhouse in Delray Beach, Florida. So the house, Tapia's Cuba house, was a real house in Miami, and it was actually a guy's house that was being built, and I'm guaranteeing he got a lot of money for this. So when you see the house blow up, this is a real house getting blown up.
Wait, he's building it just to blow it up?
So it was getting built, and I'm guessing the studio paid him a lot of money. It said
it after they blow it up.
Yeah, it said the mansion stood nearly completed and vacant for years before it was purchased. So I'm guessing they were in the midst of building it. They ran out of money or whatever. It sat there abandoned for a while, and then they ended up buying this to. And it said the new owner advertised in Variety for a movie company to use the mansion in a movie and blow it up. By the end of filming, only the swimming pool was left.
Can someone pay me a lot of money to blow my house up? That would be kind of cool.
We then get the chase scene between Mike, Marcus, Sid, and I actually they're the only three in that car, and Tapia and his goon. I don't remember what his like main guy's name was, but who cares? They got to drive to Guantanamo Bay, and they get to this really scary hill full of drug shacks. And they got to drive through them, and it is terrifying. They're driving through. They're literally like, this is where they pretty much make the drugs. And literally it shows a car drive into it, and it just blows up. And you're like, oh. And then they could proceed to crash through so many of them. And this car would have been destroyed by the time it hit the bottom. But it's a movie, everybody. Let's not look too much into it. Sid and Mark, so they're driving towards Guantanamo Bay. They can see it in the distance. They stop right at pretty much the fence. They get out. They try to run. Well, Marcus and Sid try to run. They're getting shot at by the guards at Gitmo, and Mike is trying to shoot the guy who's with Tapia, and then Tapia comes up behind him and puts his gun to his head. You find out that in the sand that Marcus and Sid are standing in are landmines. And so Sid gets the bright idea to, as she, instead of putting the gun down, she tosses her gun in slow motion onto a landmine in front of the goon. It blows him up, which then gives Marcus the time to plant a ridiculously good headshot on Tapia. And you don't just get the slow-mo shot of Tapia getting a shot literally in dead center in the forehead, but then he falls onto a landmine, and you just get the nice explosion that is just his chunks flying everywhere. Mike and Sid make out on the landmine-filled sand, and Marcus reacts as I would. I'd be like, can we not? Can we like move like 3 feet to the left? But it is what it is. Mike buys Marcus a new pool, and we get a final back and forth between the bad boys because Mike is talking about, like, he was talking about his relationship with Sid, but Marcus heard it the wrong way and thought Mike was like gonna dump her or something like that, which I thought was funny. And then Mason, of course, the dog, I don't know why you're chaining your dog up. near the pool when it broke the first time because of it, you're kind of dumb. Mason the dog pulls down the pool yet again. And as they float out to sea, they badly sing the Bad Boys song. Bad boy, bad boy. Hey.
Dude, you really got to learn the words.
You don't even know the words, Mike.
I will go to the garbage and I will tape those papers back up.
Oh, so good. And that is the end of Bad Boys 2. That was wild. Is that this might be one of the shortest episodes we've ever done. Which is crazy because we talked a lot in the beginning that had nothing to do with this movie. All right. Well, since we're done with the plot synopsis, it is time for our rankings. The first rankings are for the antagonists of the Bad Boys trilogy. Right now, the only person on the list is Fouché from Bad Boys. Where does Tapia go?
I'll say this first. I like them both. I think they both play their part really well, but I like the involvement of Tapia more. Like Tapia, I feel like is in this movie more than Fouché is in the first.
Okay.
Like I think his involvement in, I don't know. I personally just think I think Fouché is nuts in the head. Like he definitely is a crazy person, but I think Tapia is more of that hidden psychopath. Like he doesn't show much emotion, and so I'm gonna have to go with Tapia at first.
Okay. Yeah,
Plus his name is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think he was way more involved in this movie. I think Fouché was, he was in it quite a bit, but he wasn't like super involved like Tapia is. So yeah, I'm gonna give it an edge. I like Fouché. I thought he was a good bad guy, but Tapia is just a little bit more. He's a little bit more unhinged, and the fact that he kidnaps Sid and that whole thing happens. Is great. And I also love the back and forth he has with the people that work for him, because most of them are his family.
Yeah.
And I just like that better than Fouché. I didn't feel like Fouché and his goons they didn't really have a very good back and forth, where I feel like Tapia did. All right, our second one, at least for this franchise, is the car that Mike drives. So in the first one, he drove a Porsche 911. Is it a limited edition? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Or limited? And this one, I don't know exactly what kind of Ferrari, but it's a Ferrari. Which one do you like better?
I like the Porsche. I like the old school Porsche 911.
I gotta agree.
They used to have the same Porsche, not the one from the movie, but the same exact Porsche in my little Matchbox cars.
Yeah.
And I used to tell myself it was Mike's, but
yeah, I've always loved that classic, the classic Porsche. So good. I think the Ferrari was cool. I liked the chase scene more, I think, with the Ferrari. But I mean, who doesn't love that final chase scene with Marcus punching that Porsche to its limits?
Oh yeah,
so good. And as we talked about before, I added the Sid. We didn't do this ranking last week, but I figured why not? It's in this shot is done in every single movie, so why not rank them? And we talked about earlier in the show, but why don't we're going to talk about it again. The epic rise shot of Mike and Marcus rising up after something. So in the first one, it was the rise shot after the foot chase, when Julie gets taken by Fouché. And then in this one is the rise shot after Marcus gets the call from Tapia that he has Sid. Which one, where would you put this shot compared to number one?
I'm going to have to put it number one. Like I kind of explained earlier, I like the emotion more in this scene. I think they both have emotion, but this one's more like Marcus is ready to go. He's going to go unhinged pretty much. And
yeah.
I like this, how they involved the saying in that, where Mike's trying to, get him, level-headed enough to go on this mission. And he says the famous line from, Bad Boys, we ride together, we die together, bad boys for life. So that was, I like how they incorporated that in that emotion. emotional scene.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to go with this one as number one, even though I think they're both pretty great. But
Yes. I made that 911 on GTA. Yes. I love, what was it? What was the Porsche 911 called in GTA? What was the name of
the Comet.
Was it the Comet? Okay. That's what I thought.
Comet.
Yeah. And the final ranking is the films themselves. So right now, we only did one movie. Right now, number one is Bad Boys. Is Bad Boys 1 or 2 for you?
So this is gonna be kind of biased just because I feel like I watched 2 way more than 1 growing up. Like I watched 1 a lot, but 2, I feel like 2 was more when I started getting old enough to watch movies and understand them. So with my connection to it as a child till now, I'm gonna have to go with 2, even though I think I enjoyed 1 way more now, understanding it a little bit more. But I'm gonna have to go with 2 because 2, I don't know, 2 has always been my favorite since the first time I freaking watched it.
So I am going to say I like 1 slightly better. And I think it's because of the rewatch. I think there was just I like the way that the first one was shot. I love that. I love 90s action movies. It's just my thing. I just love the way they are. I love the music from the first one way better than this one. Some of the shots were just super dizzying in this. That kind of like threw me off a little bit. And I don't know. I think the back and forth between Mike and Marcus in both the films are fantastic, but I liked a little bit more in the first one. So I'm going to give 1 the edge. And since we're tied, we're going to give chat the way of breaking the tie, and third is saying 1. Is that your final answer, third, since you're the only one answering? Or I can put a poll on Twitter, and that can break the tie. You know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a poll up on the Parker Chronicles Twitter, which is up here. Dissect that film. So if you're not following that Twitter, go follow it so you can vote. We're going to put a poll up on that Twitter since me and Adam are tied right now to see what Bad Boys will be number 1 going into next week. Okay. I like that better. Third, I like your thoughts, so appreciate it. So we're gonna leave that blank for right now. So Bad Boys is still number 1. Well, actually, it's a tie right now, so I'm gonna put that. Actually, I'm gonna do that right now. Do it right now. Sorry for the silence. Gotta fill in. But which Bad Boys is better? We need to break the tie. We're going to do a 1-day vote. All right. Tweet is sent. All right. Tie has been broken. Tie has been broken. No, you guys need to go vote on the Twitter. That's what we're going to do. I originally was going to have chat choose, but you know what? I want everybody to be able to cast their vote on what they think is better. Because to be honest, either one of these can be number 1, and I'm not going to be upset by it. But in my right now, Bad Boys 1 to me is a slightly better film. I enjoyed it slightly more than Bad Boys 2. But I love both films. Let's just put that out there. All right. That is it for this episode of the Parker Chronicles podcast. If you weren't here in the beginning of the show, we did make a couple of announcements on the future of the show, and I will gladly tell you again. We do have 2 more. We're going to have 2 new members of the show coming on in the next couple weeks. The amazing DNA Gaming, consisting of Dan and Aradella, will be joining us in a couple weeks. And also, we're going to be changing the name of the show. We're going to have some non-Parkers on the show. So I feel like the Parker Chronicles just isn't a name we should continue using. So we're going to be changing the name of the show, hopefully by the first episode that DNA will be on. And also we're going to be doing Jurassic Park. The Jurassic Park, the first 3 movies, and of course the Jurassic World movies. That's the first set of films that we're going to be dissecting come not next week, but the week after. I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited to have them on the show, and I'm excited to change it up and get a new name. As much as I love seeing, as much as I've loved having the Parker Chronicles be the title of the show, I feel like bringing others onto the show, I feel like we have to be more equal and not the way that the way that we are right now. And also we got plans for the future and what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing other shows in the future, not just doing this same thing every time. But I'm enjoying doing this. And I hope you are too. So this show will be put on podcast services tomorrow morning. So Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern. So if you listen, we are currently on Google Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean. So if you can't watch it live or you want to listen to the show while you're working out, driving, at work, you can also listen to it there. If you have any recommendations for shows, or if you have any notes on things that we might have missed in an episode, please, you can DM me over at Dissect That Film. That is the Twitter handle for the show. Or you can DM me at Mind of Parker. Also, go make sure to drop a follow over at Nemesis. His name is right there, Nemesis Angel with 3s. Make sure you do 3s instead of E's. And also go follow DNA Gaming, our future hosts of the show. I'm super excited. Super excited. I hope you are too.
Be a good time.
So yeah, we're going to be live next week. Next Thursday, we're going to work out a time and then we'll let you guys know. We're going to be doing Bad Boys for Life. So excited to watch this movie again. Like I said before, I've only seen this movie once all the way through. And it was when me and Adam went to go see it in theaters. I have not seen it from beginning to end since then. I've seen it bits and pieces. So I'm excited to dive into it. And finish this trilogy up and get into Jurassic Park, which I'm super excited about. Other than that, I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Be good to each other, and we'll see you all soon.